Hi guys, I'm Jim and this is Jim's Fix-It Shop, and today we're going to put this front end together that goes on my 33-inch snapper. If I could turn this a little. Here's the one of the bushings for the Kingpins, and in this front end they're really sloppy. The holes are egg-shaped because the original bushings wore out and it ruined the front end on this. These bushings are extremely cheap, a couple of bucks. Keep your eye on them because it will do a lot of damage when these things go bad. So I have the steering shaft and the handlebars already installed. I started this a couple of days ago and it got messed up, so I'm just going to start over. This steering shaft and the handlebars went together extremely hard. In fact, I had to set this upside down on the floor and use a rubber mallet and pound on here to get them two to go together. It's because I'm intermixing parts. I have 3 machines and I'm taking all the good parts off of all 3 of them to make one. Now the problem is, I got a pin here somewhere. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Here it is. It's actually a bolt with a tapered head. And it looks like the bolts that hold the wheel flanges on the axle, but it's a lot smaller. This bolt goes through your handlebars and into your steering shaft and locks it from turning. They also have I got another one here. They also have this clamp on it that reminds me of the clamps we used to have on our bikes that held the seat up at the height we wanted it. That's what's holding it on now. I think I have it square. I'm not sure until I get it together. The best way to tell is drive it down your driveway, stop when you've been going straight, and look at your handlebars and see if they need to be tweaked. This bolt hole does not line up. So when I get it where I want it, I'll drill it and then put the bolt in. So right now we'll just set that aside. May have to tip this down a little bit. Or I need a taller bench, one of the two. Okay, we're going to put in the bushings for the Kingpins. Now on this front end, they fit in very tight. The holes are still true and round, and that'll help out a lot. Now when I put this together, I put the Kingpins in, and I do have the bushings in the Kingpins for the tie rods. This area right here, there is a washer that goes on there that acts as a thrust washer. I shouldn't have put all them in there. That makes a nice smooth flat surface for your bushing to rub against, so it doesn't wear as bad. Keep track of these washers also. These will wear down to paper thin and they'll rip or just fall right off. Then you start wearing this plate, and once you wear that out, you can't replace that. It's welded onto these things. When you have this together, there's also one of these thrust washers that go on the top. I'll show you when I flip this over. But I had this together once, so I know on this one, on this Kingpin, I need 2 spacers on the bottom. Because when I got it together, I put the snappering on the top, I still had slop up and down. That's because this ear is either bent up or it bent this way from, maybe they ran into something, I don't know. So we're going to put 2 on the bottom on this kingpin. We're going to put 1 on the bottom on this kingpin. When I flip it over, we'll do the top. Now your tie rods. New bushings that goes into your steering shaft. Now these are a right and left hand. If you mix them up, you're going to know right away. Because as soon as you put this in your kingpin, it'll either line up and go right into your steering shaft, or it's going to be aimed down and it'll never go in. Let me switch these. You can't really see that, but I don't have a shaft here. Your steering shaft, if you've got the right one, it'll be 90 degrees to it. It'll slide right in these bushings. If you've got them switched, this is going to be tipped down. There's no way it'll go in there, so you can't really mess them up. The tie rod goes in from the top on the kingpin, and it goes in from the bottom on your steering shaft. Now here again, I've got washers that goes on the ends of the tie rod. Maybe I can wiggle you over here a little bit. I'm putting 2 washers on this tie rod to build out to the edge of the hole so I can just get a cotter key in there, and that gives me no slop. 1 washer, put the cotter key in. This thing slops back and forth. So I'm going to put 2 washers in here. The same up here. I'm using 1 washer, but it's very thick compared to the washers that came with it. I just happened to find this washer was thick enough, and I drilled the hole out a little bigger on my drill press, and these things went right in here. We're going to bend this cotter key over so it don't fall out on me. We can finish bending them down later. Now we can go to this side. And basically we're going to do the same thing. We got the 2 washers under here. We're going to put this tie rod from the top down, and in here it goes from the bottom up. 2 washers again. And the cotter key. That makes it tight so there's no slop. That keeps falling out. 1 thicker washer goes up here. And these cotter keys are quite large in diameter. That way it fills the hole up and I don't have any slop. Makes it a little harder to get them in, but they fit a lot better that way. That's the tie rods and kingpins. Now, what goes on the kingpin is a dust cap. Inside this dust cap is 2 thrust washers and a felt seal. The washers go inside of the seal and the whole thing drops into the dust cap. And it has notches in it that goes on these bumps on the kingpin. So once you get this in here, that fell apart on me. You want to turn that so it lines up on them bumps. And rag. Then we can put the tire on. Another thicker washer that I found that takes up the slop on the tire. We'll put the cotter key in. And bend it over. I like to fold the ears on the cotter key right down on the shaft so they fit tight. And you can put your cute little hubcap on if you want to. We do this side, we'll move the camera over here. Hopefully you'll be able to see a little bit better. Now we'll put the dust cap on with the seal and the thrust washers. Tire goes on with the grease fitting inside, the air chuck on the outside. Larger washer takes up the slop in the tire. Put that cotter key in there. I like to open the pliers up and grab onto these cotter keys. I don't know if you can see it or not. Kind of awkward for me to try to do that around there backwards. And bend that down flat. And then our cute little hubcap. Now I'm going to lay this down so we can do the top side. Okay, now this is almost done. We have another thrust washer. I bought new ones. I didn't want to use the old ones, they were too rusty. And I also bought new snap rings to snap on here. And that's it. Now let's go around the other side. And we'll put this one on. Thrust washer. Grab my pliers. And the snap ring. Well, I like the way that feels. All the slop is gone. It's nice and tight. I can't wait to get it on this machine and see how it runs. Now the next video will be getting the old front end off, the wiring out of the tube, the cables out of the tube, and getting this front end on and rewiring it. So until next time, work safe, have fun, don't forget to subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon.